Hello and welcome back to my top 10 worst Doctor Who stories. Today we are on number 5, Carnival of Monsters. I apologise for the apparel as I'm still half awake. So we'll start with plot points. So basically the Doctor lands the TARDIS on the SS Bernice, which is a boat which goes missing. But eventually he discovers that the SS Bernice isn't all that it seems. And it turns out they're in a miniscope, which is like a portable zoo that shows videos of different monsters in their different habitats. Like aliens or humans or whatever. And so the Doctor and Jo have to escape the miniscope while facing different problems like monsters and people just stopping them from leaving and things like that. We'll start with bad points. I have them on paper as usual. The grey drone creatures, I can't quite remember what they were called. The idiotic grey creatures, they weren't the intelligent ones, are quite annoying. They don't seem to provide anything to the story at all. I mean, it seems like there was something to do with them, like the fact that they were hard to control or something like that, but it just seems like a plot point that was dropped and they were just there in the episode. As much as I like Jo Grant as a character, I think in this episode she's quite annoying. It's like she screams at a chicken in the first episode. I don't really understand that. Also, the effects are a bit naff in the episode. I mean, I know it's like mid-70s, early 70s, but the effects are a bit naff, especially when the hand picks out the TARDIS from the miniscope. I think there would be better ways to have dealt with that. Like, for example, the TARDIS ejects itself from the miniscope or something like that, rather than someone just putting their hand in and picking out a little toy miniaturized TARDIS, which didn't really look particularly good. I think the TARDIS is forced to eject itself would have been a better way to have dealt with getting rid of the TARDIS from the miniscope. A question I thought about is how a Cyberman is in the miniscope, because I have no doubt that a Cyberman's not going to be easy to capture and put in the rooms in the miniscope is, and I don't think they would be easy to control either, considering they're emotionless robotic cyborg things. And also, I think a flaw is that they had mentioned some aliens, Ogrons, Cybermen, but they didn't use them at all. They showed them briefly, but I think the episode could have benefited from these various monsters appearing against the Doctor, maybe briefly. So, like, in every different episode of this story, there's about 4 episodes, maybe a separate monster in each episode just appeared and caused a problem, or even for like a part of the episode appeared and caused difficulty and just caused a problem for the Doctor. In his attempt to escape, he had to go through all these different rooms to try and find the way out, rather than nothing. I think the story seems to go round in circles a lot, and considering it just seems a bit too long. The story seems like they go around in circles a lot, and for 4 episodes, it doesn't really seem very good. I mean, fair enough. Most of the classic series is standardly 4 episodes. Sometimes that changed to 2 or 3 episodes, or sometimes it was longer. But as a standard, they were usually 4 episodes. But I think this one there was just too much. Like, there was too little. It just kept going round in circles and didn't seem to fit very well. Like, the story seems too long to support what was going on. If more monsters, like as I said with the Cybermen, if more monsters were used in the episode, then it might have worked a bit more. Like, I could have understood how it would have been panned out to 4 episodes, or maybe you could have even made it slightly longer to 5 or 6 episodes if you added more monsters and more complications. Whereas what you have, it seems at least an episode too long. It could have just been 3 or even 2, really. And towards the end, well, throughout the story, we see 2 of the intelligent grey aliens of the trio that we see, Kelak and Aurum, and they're basically trying to plan an uprising and remove Vorg, or Varg, or whatever his name is, Zarb, President Zarb, from office, somehow. And we also know that Kelak is the brother of Zarb. And there seems to be this whole uprising plotline, like they're going to somehow get Zarb removed from office and change how the planet's law works and things like that to benefit them. But this uprising against the presidency, it just seems to be dropped towards the end. And since it's a strong plot point, it shouldn't have been dropped. It seems if that was built on as well, that would extend the story a bit more. If they built on certain things, like if they built on this plot point and maybe added a few monsters in, you could have panned out this episode for about 5 or 6 episodes, and it wouldn't feel like it was being dragged out like it does with the 4 episodes that it is. And also, we get no evidence that either Oram or Kelek are killed when the Drashigs break free. There's no evidence that they were killed. So this whole taking over the presidency plotline is just dropped entirely. There's no, like, if they were killed, then maybe you could let go that the plotline was never there. Like, there would be no mention of it. But the fact that there was no evidence of their death just takes away this plot line and makes it a plot hole, really. Moving on to good points. Ian Marter, who plays Harry, is in this episode, and he does a good job being a supporting role as one of the ship lieutenants or whatever they are. I'm not quite sure what they are, but he's a good supporting role in this episode. The idea of the carnival of monsters in a box with different monsters is a good idea, but it just isn't built on very well in this episode. Seeing the scene on a loop, the scene where we see the Major and his daughter, I think, and Ian Marter's character just constantly having this little scene together in a loop, and we get to see it from different perspectives. We also get to see it change slightly every time, and I think it is quite interesting to see that scene play out so many times in different ways. I like the random fist fight that the Doctor and Ian Marter's character, again, which has escaped me, have against each other. And then there's a random chase scene as well, so it's pretty action-packed, this bit in the episode. I think it's interesting sets for the interior of the miniscope outside of these little different worlds. They're very good sets, and it's nice to see them like quite a bit in the story. Like the Doctor and Joe seem to walk through them a lot, and then you see the Drashigs escape and go through these sets, and they're quite good. The grey alien guys, the trio, the ones that are intelligent, they're quite amusing throughout the story. When they talk to each other, they have a lot of sarcastic jokes, and they seem to overrule each other and try and debate things, and they're just interesting characters and quite amusing. The scene where the Doctor ignites the marsh gas is a famous scene in John Pertwee's era as the Doctor. I think it's just a really awesome scene to see him ignite the marsh gas to harm the Drashigs, really. I think it's a good scene. But having said that, that's where all the good points end for this episode. So, as an overall, this episode does have some decent good points. However, it has a lot of bad points, like plot points that are just dropped. And it seems to be dragging out too long. I mean, it's not absolutely horrible. The episode, unlike some of the other ones on my worst list, it isn't horrible. However, all these little points, these little nitpicky things, have just put it on my list for worst, really. And so I gave it a rating of 3 out of 10, which is the same as quite a few of them on the list at the moment. I would consider it better than some of the ones on the list, but the reason it is lower down on the list is generally because it is dragged out, and there was so many things that could have made it better that it had to be on my list. There was so many things that could have made it better. It was too long, dragged out. So adding those extra monsters and going through these rooms with more complications would have been more interesting. Also, the plot points that were dropped, like the taking over of the presidency, and the fact that they could have got the TARDIS to eject itself rather than having that terrible effect. But having said that, it is what it is. So, yeah, thank you for watching this review. Next on my list will be Caves of Androzani on my best, and on my worst, I believe it is Twin Dilemma. I will just check a second. I will cut this bit. No, I'm wrong. I'll restart this bit. So next time, we have Caves of Androzani on my best, and on worst, we have Fort to Doomsday. Thank you for watching. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.